Good evening, everyone, and welcome to TriVersity Talk. I am Steven Bloomer-Teague.
And I am Wendy Stewart Kaplan, and thank you for being here on where I am. It's a pouring, rainy Thursday night.
Yeah, I don't know if it's raining here still, but it's been a poury, rainy all day kind of thing. But at least it's like 95 degrees. So.
Oh my God. Well, they say the heat's going to break, and maybe 4th of July is supposed to be really nice for fireworks. A little bit cloudy, a little bit cooler. So that's good.
Are you doing anything fun for the 4th?
I haven't seen my family, who is in Massachusetts, for 15 months. So,
wow.
Yeah, I know. I'm going up to see them. And there's a place called Kimball's Ice Cream Parlor and Barbecue. I'm going to be having barbecue and ice cream. Oh, and the ice cream, like the small there, is like humongous. So I'm going to be having ice cream, watching fireworks, having barbecue, and just chilling. I so need to relax, Stephen. We just got finished with Pride in New York. And after everything that everyone heard, oh, there's not going to be any Pride this year. There's no march. There's no this. There's no that. We unofficially had everything. No. It was amazing. The march we had was a march of the people, by the people, for the people. No floats, lots of political signs, and just everybody together as communities. So it's been good.
That's incredible. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what happens next year when let's hope nothing goes crazy with these variants. But next year, when Heritage Pride is back, how that might change the dynamics of the march.
Fingers crossed.
Yep.
Absolutely, fingers crossed.
Yep. So Wendy, before we bring on tonight's guest, let's remind everyone about the awesome event we have on Friday, July 23rd at Upfront Exhibition Space.
Yay. And I've been talking to this person a lot because this guest needs a lot of things. Our guest, who is going to be performing Out Loud and Proud, is Jonathan Fox. He's doing a one-person show with music, with storytelling. And if you know Jonathan Fox, and a lot of you do, and his dog Dharma, Jonathan's an incredible storyteller. And I'm so thrilled. He's doing this as a fundraiser for TriVersity. So please go to our website, and it's super easy to order the tickets. Super easy.
I didn't make it super easy in the comments because I didn't want to put that long URL, but go to TriVersityCenter.org/events. It's the first event you will see is the Out Loud and Proud. You'll get a lot more information, and then there's an easy little icon you click to order those tickets. So get on it, folks.
And you can see our new website. It's a perfect opportunity to peruse our beautiful new website and logo.
Absolutely. And what we're trying to do after each episode of TriVersity Talk is start a little bit of a discussion. So anything we talk about here tonight, any questions raised, find us in the comments. This is where you can go. Just copy and paste that. And if there's anything you want to add to the discussion tonight, feel free. And it doesn't matter if you're watching this on YouTube after. The forum will remain open. So
that's right. And tonight, if you're watching it and you want to jump in and add comments, please do. We love your comments. We love involving our audience. So without further ado, I'd like to tell you about the spiritual journey we're going to go on with our guest tonight. Our guest tonight he's a dad, a husband, a pastor, runs an incredible non-for-profit that was literally born from a church that he started. And I can't wait for him to tell you more about it. Please welcome Pastor John E. Griffin-Atil.
Sorry, behind. Hey, John.
There I am. Hello.
There you are.
Yes, I was still thinking about your barbecue that you're going to have. I gained some weight just listening to that. So.
It's going to be scrumptious. Do you have 4th of July plans too, John?
Oh, well, I got the benefit. I had neck surgery, so I can't swallow right now. I can't eat food. So I'm actually losing weight. So I'll be able just to smell food at its best. But I'm sorry it's raining there. It's beautiful here in Southern California. Yeah. It's about 68 degrees. It's a little bit overcast. The ocean's beautiful. What more could you ask for?
Oh, my gosh. So you are located, I think when we were talking, you said the farthest point really in Southern California where you can, if Sarah Palin could see Russia, you said you could see Mexico.
I can see Mexico. Imperial Beach, that's the name of the town I live in. We are the most southwesterly city in the continental United States. You can't go any further south, you're in Mexico. Any further west, you're in the ocean. So so get a map and go right down to the corner, and that's where I'm at right now.
Wow.
So just like Sarah Palin, that must make you an expert in foreign policy.
It does. I'll be happy to expound on that. So, but I'm not originally from, I don't think you know that, maybe you do. I'm not originally from California. I'm originally
farm boy. That's what I know about you. You're a farm boy.
Yeah, people who knew me back on the farm probably would not describe me as a farm boy. That would imply working cattle, doing harvest. That was not my forte. I definitely was not born to be a farmer or a farm boy.
And you knew that at an early age, right? That like
I did, and it's really, I'm 57 years old. And so I was born in 1964. So in the 1970s, that's not a particularly easy time in rural. I don't think it's easy now, quite frankly, but when in the 1970s, we had no will and grace. There was no kind of out there images that one could resonate with. You kind of went by what, you heard through. Well, honestly, I remember Jerry Falwell preaching a lot on television, and that became the images of what I grew up hearing about what the gays were, their agenda. And I've often said, so, we'll get to my spiritual journey, but it really began back there on the farm, not being able to fit in, not being able to belong. And church was an important part growing up. My great grandfather built the little Methodist church down from the farm and where I was baptized. That still goes to this day. But it wasn't the church, but it was pastors that made it possible for me to fit in. Burr and Elsie Cricker were my pastors. And they were the ones who I think saved my life. They're the ones who showed me a place where I could belong. And so the church was my refuge in Kansas. The pastors, I should say more accurately.
So that one sentence, the church was my refuge, that's so incredible that it had such an impact on you and that the pastors had such a positive influence on you. How old were you when you realized you were gay?
Oh, I think when I was 5, I knew I was gay, but knowing it, and knew something was different about me, but you were desperate not to be that. I went to college trying not to be that, living a double life, trying to fit in with what my peers were like. So
now, when you were growing up, Steven can totally chime in on that.
I gave up at the end of high school, but kept living in that bubble world until then. I tell you, it's tough.
Well, go ahead.
What were your parents, your relationship with your parents at that time?
Well, I always suspected that they probably, my parents died in 86 and 87 when I was just 21 and 22. So end of college, mom died. The next year, dad died when I was in seminary. I never really ever got to talk to them about who I was but I think mom knew. I remember there was a story that one of my aunts had gone to my mom because I had my ears pierced. Kansas in the 80s, a farm boy, pierced ear. Oh my God, what more did you need to say? And so I think she went and said, is he a fag? And I think my mom reportedly said something, leave him alone. Let him be a boy. Let him be. So that's about as close as I got to any sense of my parents knowing. So since they're dead, I can make them be whatever I want them to be at this point. So.
Of course.
I was going to say to your point, Steven, about you being able to give it up a little bit sooner than I did. I mistakenly thought the church was my refuge. It was the pastors who were my refuge. They were the ones. And so I gravitated to want to be like them. And so I wanted to be a minister, therefore. And the church in itself, the United Methodist Church, that's all I can really speak about, right now in its current form, is not a particular good refuge for gays and lesbians. Now, there are United Methodist churches that are an exception. But as the Book of Discipline stands, the United Methodist Church does not present itself as a refuge to people like me or, gays and lesbians or trans, that it just doesn't. You have to make your way. You have to find your way carefully in that. So that's partly why I didn't come to terms with it sooner, because I was a student pastor when I was 18. I mean, out of high school, and suddenly had a little church. And so the pressure came upon me that I needed to be married. I needed to be heterosexual. And so that's was my biggest mistake looking back. I wish I would have not done that and would allowed myself to grow through college.
It's interesting the influence that these pastors had on you. Did they ever approach you about being different? As you said, do you think they knew?
Oh yeah. In fact, Burr has since died. Elsie is probably watching this program right now. Elsie is a retired United Methodist pastor. She was remarkable, accepting and embracing of me. I remember as a 13-year-old kid sitting on the step of the parsonage, trying to tell her I was gay, and it was all right. It was all right, and that was radical for her to be accepting of me from that context.
Time, absolutely, and in general.
I just have to say, I sometimes find the United Methodist Church so strange, because I find some of the most accepting people in the United Methodist Church, but the overarching hierarchy still hasn't, embraced that acceptance. So I wanted to ask you, thoughts on the concept of grace through separation, what's currently going on with the United Methodist Church?
I'm probably the last person to ask this question to, because I am so on the bottom of the food chain when it comes to all these kind of decision making. In fact, there may be my boss, my supervisor actually may be watching as well, and she's the real person to ask something like this. But from my perspective, we already were separated. It's, the United Methodist Church was not united. I mean, United came from the EUB, merger, but we were not united. We were a couple that were living in separate bedrooms. And I think it's more honest for us to go our separate ways in this regard. I think it's tragic, because when I wanted to be a part of the United Methodist Church, what I agreed to be a part of was a movement that was not about like-mindedness. Because I think God is beyond like-mindedness. Right. So I'm perfectly happy to be friends and share a table with people who don't agree with me or who don't even like me, and vice versa. I think that's what being spiritual is all about. Is about a table of diversity. That's our strength, and yet for us to tear each other apart like has been going on is just horrible. So if we can't do it, okay, let's go our way. But in my mind, in the context I work here in Imperial Beach, I work with people who who thought Bernie Sanders was too conservative. I work with people who love Donald Trump. I don't care. My work is to build community. That's what I'm interested in. I'm interested in community, and community transcends like-mindedness. It's about being connected and finding our strength together. So yeah, I guess that's what we have to do. It's getting very tiresome every general conference every 4 years to watch the laws become harsher and more punitive, and to watch the harm that's being done to so many people. It's just we have to make this break. It just is if this was a couple, we would have told them a long time ago, just stop it. You just take your things and go someplace else.
Now, John, I love listening to what you're saying. This is an eye opener for me. I think, we talked, I love all religions. I don't practice any single one. I embrace all of them. And the core of my being is community, right? So how much of your awareness of the importance of community had to do with the fact that you actually shut down your own church to start a non-for-profit? No, that's amazing. And I love the thinking behind it.
When you put it that way, it sounds more dramatic than it really was.
Right, but
so this little church in Imperial Beach was a church I was assigned to in 1993. And I was here until 1999. And I thought, oh my God, they're going to leave me in this little place forever. So I went to the bishop and said, please move me, and where'd you like to go? I said, West Hollywood. And so he sent me to West Hollywood. Always be careful what you pray for. My God.
West Hollywood is a wild place, John.
That's a whole separate story. And so through the years, the supervisors would say, well, where would you like to go? I said, well, someplace like Imperial Beach, by the beach. That was really what I wanted to say. By the beach, small town, kind of that flavor, And so 2013, what did they do? They sent me back to Imperial Beach. And so here I come back in. And same people largely, but older, 14 years older. Many had died. Many more would die, but people weren't coming. And in Imperial Beach, there's about 14 churches, all conservative except our little church, and which is the fact that they had a gay pastor says they're a little bit different than the rest.
Yeah.
But anyway, they're declining. They can't make the bills, and it just looks. But yet they're doing amazing stuff in reaching out to the homeless population, in helping people with food insecurity. And so I said, I have this idea, and I floated by the bishop. Let's close the church. And so you won't have all the stuff of being a church, but let's save the congregation. I'll take care of you as the pastor. And then we'll create a new nonprofit called the Imperial Beach Neighborhood Center that will continue the work that the church did. And so they agreed to that. And so I still have a congregation. I tend to the congregation. I preach to them and, care for them, bury the dead and, all that stuff. But then my work is as executive director of this organization, which I'm particularly proud about because it is church in the way I believe church should be. We tried to figure out how to market people into the church, how to get them to come to Sunday morning worship. I find people don't want to come to Sunday morning worship, but they're interested in helping others. To be part of a movement to make this a better world. And by doing that, we follow what Jesus told us to do. I was hungry, I was naked, I was thirsty, I was in prison, So we do those things without ever preaching it at them. We say, come help us. Come help us, reach out to those who are hungry. Help us, those who are homeless. We were part of the Get on the Bus movement, which takes families, get them children on a bus to take them to visit their mothers and fathers who are incarcerated in prisons.
Amazing. Why?
Because Jesus said, I was in prison. So we live out the gospel without ever telling people, oh, this is what we're doing. We just do it. Just do it.
It is doing the action. To me, this is not only an amazing concept, it is completely forward thinking of where churches need to be next. I mean, you nailed it. And you're still providing the comfort that a pastor provides, and that's what I meant when I said you shut down your church and you became a non-for-profit. But it's such an incredible concept. It's a radical concept. Did you have a lot of pushback when you first did this?
No.
Wow.
The congregation, probably by the fact that I'd been there 6 years before and had stayed in touch with them through the years, they trusted me. They knew that I was not going to desert them because I said in this process, I will stay. I have no desire to leave.
Right.
The other thing is the church here in Southern California, and this is so different than the rest of the denomination, I really believe, has an openness. They realize that churches are dying. And so what could they do? So, okay, this church is going to die. So it dies. They close it. They sell the property. It becomes a parking lot. End of story. And
or a condo. It becomes a condo.
Oh, yeah. But they have a few dollars and they're out. This way, the church still has a witness, as they would say, in Imperial Beach. And I think that's really, really, really important. Now, mind you, we got big dreams about this. We've been working with the developer for some time to tear the whole place down. Build a 50-unit affordable housing complex on the front.
Oh my God.
Half of that would be permanent supportive care for formerly homeless seniors.
Wow.
And the other for low-income seniors, and a new neighborhood center in the back that would have a community space where the congregation could worship, or any congregation could worship, or where there could be yoga classes or whatever.
Right.
So, but we are going out on a big leap of faith because we have no money. but we are trusting the process that money is going to happen through the sale of the land that we have, and maybe we'll make this work. Or maybe somebody listening has a few million hanging around and says, hey, let me throw it out to Imperial Beach.
Split it between Imperial Beach and TriVersity.
Yeah.
I think that would be great. I'll name the building after you. TriVersity.
I love what you're putting out into the universe. How did you become such a community-minded person?
Well, I worked with some pastors who really pushed me in that direction to get me engaged with the city. And so a now retired pastor kind of said, okay, you need to go to the city council and sit down with them and find out what they're doing. And so I did that. I go out and I meet with all the city council. I say to the mayor, okay, this is how it's going to work. I don't want to pray at any of your council meetings, but I will be on committees. I'll be part of whatever you need me to be a part of. I go to all the service organizations, and speak there, be part of them. So show myself to be part of the community. I went to the DA, my district superintendent, my supervisor early on, and said, I know these people at this church. I'm not going to spend my time with them. Instead, I'm going to spend my time with the community. My goal was to ultimately, in this little town of 27,000, to be known as Pastor John. And that happened. I mean, so I have people who say they would never step foot into a church building, but that's Pastor John. You're Pastor John.
Right.
And so, I really fundamentally believe that church is so much bigger than any building or any belief system. It's John Wesley, rightly said, the world is my parish. And so many, the joke is many pastors say the parish is my world. And so I really take that seriously. I see this whole area as what would be called my church, my community. And community is something that doesn't just happen. You have to work it.
You have to build it and work it.
Yeah, it's not easy. It's hard work especially in this time right now where our society is so divided. We're so divided as a nation, and our communities are divided as well. This is hard work to get past the divides and to find our common ground to work together.
But I am going to, because I was going to go down that slippery slope. How do we do this? In the last 4-year period, I had a particularly hard time with fundamentalists and people that call themselves religious, trying to pass horrible bills that would affect our trans community, our LGBT people, our Q people, and hatred. It comes from. So how do you find the language to talk to people like that? What do you say?
Again, I'm the wrong person because I would probably not be charitable. I mean, it's when people cross the line into harm, intentional harm,
right?
That's unacceptable. I mean, there's just no easy way, the conservative church down the way, I'm happy to dialogue or talk with folks and work with them. But if they begin to cause harm, then I'm going to pull back. You know what I mean? I'm not going. So I'm not the Gandhi here. I mean, it's really tough. I don't know the answer. I don't know the answer when people are using power over people like they have. That's no.
It's hard. I guess I'm asking you from my own heart, because there's been talk even in our town in Milford, very divided. And people write on Facebook, we need to all come together. We need to get past our political differences or those kinds of beliefs. I know what they're saying, but it's too hard for me to let go when I saw so much harm and destruction happen in the last 4 years, including this pandemic that we came out of. Yeah, a lot of people would have died, but nowhere near 600,000 people that were told you don't need a mask. And a lot of those people were affiliated with the churches that said that. What do you say to people like that? I don't know that I personally will ever move past it. I don't know if I want to.
So I would think, I was sitting here thinking about this, I think that the work we have to do is more on ourselves. It's to not allow those individuals to somehow compromise something deep within ourselves. I think of Dorothy Day, who was the founder of the Catholic worker movement. I'll probably completely screw up. I didn't say fuck up, but I said screw up.
It's okay.
Her saying, just want to be clear about my language. That we love God as much as the person we love least. And so it stops you in your tracks a bit, because you're talking about your own relationship, your own sense of character, your own sense of who you are. And it's being affected by those assholes out there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so I think we have to, in this, strengthen ourselves, to renew in ourselves a certain sense of respect for ourselves, a sense of dignity for ourselves, as we deal with these folks. Does that make sense at all? I mean,
I totally. I think you're talking about self-worth, working on oneself, okay, and healing oneself. I'm healing myself from all of this. I know that I am. I will be a better human being out there because of it, but I don't necessarily need to forgive people that caused harm.
No, but we might have to let it go.
Right.
So it's a very different thing.
It's a fine line.
It's like, I'm not going to condone what you are about, but I'm also not going to let you wound me. I'm not going to let you harm me anymore. You can't do that. Right. And I'm not going to carry that baggage with me. And that's, for me, it's very tough, Wendy. I think that's, it's, because I do like to carry a grudge, and,
I still love you to death, Orr.
Is that right?
Amen, brother.
We'll sing a hymn here pretty soon and pick up an offering. So but yeah.
Steven, can you talk a little bit about, the incident that happened at our beautiful center when you were there?
Sure. And it happened right after we had this lovely reporter come in earlier in the day and was preparing to write this article that was just published in a local paper here about our center being warm and welcoming. And then right before we were about to close, someone walks in, and I knew it was trouble. I hate to say it, but if you see somebody walking into an LGBT center holding a Bible, it could be bad news. This Bible was of the type and quality that came from the local Roach Motel. So I was like, this is trouble. And I was like, I don't know how I'm going to handle it. Well, she came in, she handed me the Bible. And then she said, we need to be very careful not to harm children. And it was like she cast the line, and I took the bait because I fed into it and went there, and there was a discussion where I was likened to a thief. And again, this is not something that was strange to me. I have heard this before, a thief's a sinner just like you are. But I don't know. And I just felt like Bruce Banner became the Incredible Hulk by the end of this thing. And I kind of just low-key flipped out. And the warm and welcoming center person a few hours ago was telling someone to get the fuck out. And I've scrutinized this over and over again, more upset about my reaction than anything. So I guess, John, as a pastor, as someone who I'm sure has dealt with this and does deal with this, what would you have done? How would you handle something like that?
Oh, I probably would have been far worse than you.
Yeah. A lot of us have said that, Steven, by the way.
Did you keep the Bible?
I did. There might have been a moment where I did something dramatic. I never meant it, but I did toss that Bible in the trash can before digging it out after she left. And that's probably one of the things I feel the most guilty about is that dang Bible. But yes, I still have that Bible. It's in the desk at the center because I want to prove, if anybody accuses me of throwing away a Bible, that I still have it in tow. Absolutely.
Well, she weaponized that against you. She weaponized that against you. And the thing to realize is that she doesn't know scripture from a hill of beans, you know, and you know, the God of the scriptures always protects, you know, his people. And what you did there was you protected your people. Right. And so you could have been you could have grabbed that Bible and say, I am here to protect the children, and just drive her out. You know, I think a word might have been, get behind me, Satan, perhaps would have been a nice one. Or get, you know, out the door, Satan, perhaps. Satan. You know, yeah. I mean, it's just because she's waving a Bible doesn't mean anything. Right. You know, she thinks it does. God love her, poor soul. Who knows her story? But you did the right thing. Yeah. You did the right thing. And if I was one of those people who came to that center to be in a safe place, thank God for you, Steven. Thank God that you were there, that you are there. I mean, seriously, thank God. And God is pleased that you are there, I think, because you are protecting them from these idiots that don't want to learn. They don't want to grow. They're out to harm. And maybe they don't understand it. I don't care. They don't, but you cannot allow them to get close to those people and shake her off and you know how the Bible's used. A monk friend of mine, a Catholic monk, sent me a cartoon to show you how we're weaponizing. There's a priest and a person coming up for communion, and the priest says, liberal or conservative. You know, it's kind of like the weaponizing of even the sacrament. We've seen that discussion going on in the Catholic Church. You know, if you're not supporting these ideas, maybe you shouldn't get the communion. This is what fundies or the conservatives are doing. Right. Is weaponizing religion against people. That's wrong. That's wrong.
The Bible, the concept that you're talking about of weaponizing was just such a brilliant example, Steven, of her coming in with the Bible. You know, John, you saying that concept that she used it as it was a weapon. It was as if she came in, you know, with a loaded gun. Right. All right. And it is as equally as horrific that and the fact that our center is a safe space. You know, everyone worked very hard to make it that way. Everyone's very proud of it. How dare somebody come in there like that and think that it was okay? But two things. Maybe I was thinking, how dare she? And then you just brought something to light, John. Maybe she didn't know. You know, maybe a lot of these people are so brainwashed and indoctrinated that they think that they're doing you a favor. They're going to enlighten you. Maybe that was it.
Right. They're out to save the world according to what someone told them. Right. And so at best, they often just repeat what somebody else told them. Right. And so I don't think you have any regret for what you did, Steven. Do you?
Oh, I have loads of regret.
No.
I am and how I live my life.
No, I think you should feel proud of what you did. I think there's no reason you should have second thoughts about it whatsoever. Right. Because I think anyone in their right mind would have done what you did. In their right mind.
And Steven, I think you were far kinder than the rest of us would have been. Simone, who's our vice president and on our board, she's an expert in martial arts, okay? Could have gotten really, really bad. And I have an awful temper, certainly with those kind of people. So you done good, and you protected our safe space. John, right. I am, you mentioned a monk friend.
Yeah.
You're a Buddhist as well.
Yeah, people would say I'm generally messed up on this stuff. You know,
I'm totally loving this. I want to hear the path to Buddhism.
So in 2009, I was serving a church. 2008, I was serving a church in Lakewood. It was a new church coming from West Hollywood. It was having difficulties with a gay pastor. So we were having a lot of bumps. But in the midst of that, because I live with AIDS, HIV and AIDS, my medicine caused me to have severe pancreatitis. I lost a lot of weight suddenly. I got very sick. And so I went on disability. And suddenly I was not having to work and just take care of myself. And at that time is when we adopted our son, Steven. And I didn't want to go to church. I didn't want to do that. And you know, I got through my education as fast as I could, and I never liked reading. I didn't have any particular desire to read, but that in 2009, something cracked open inside me. Just something. Just suddenly, I had all these books from seminary that I hadn't read. I suddenly started reading them all. I was like, oh my God. And so I kept reading, and I wanted to explore Hinduism and Native American traditions, and then I ended up in Buddhism, and then it's like, I like to sit with a group, and there happened to be a group in Long Beach. Ironically, at the church I was appointed to first in 1990. And so I went there and sat with them. And so I sat with them for 4 years until I went back to being a pastor. And in that time,
the awakening was, I want to think what was going on in your life in 2009 that created this awakening for you.
It was the kind of a disillusion about the church. Just it was the how violent congregants can be, how mean-spirited they can be. A lot like we were discussing. I didn't have anyone at the level that Steven was talking about, but some very mean-spirited congregants who would attack me for being gay and all that stuff. It just was hell. It was hell. And I think just so much chaos was ensuing me that something just exploded. A void that suddenly needed to be filled. And it felt like it needed to be filled with something spiritual. There was a hunger. And I think a lot of people, pastors, go through this, but in college, mine didn't happen till much later than that. And for me, Buddhism became important, not as a religion. It was it was liberating because it had no theology. It had no concept of God. It had none of that. It just sit down and shut up. Just sit down, shut up, and let go of your thoughts. Right. Let it go. And that became the solace that I really needed desperately at that time. And consequently, and then how I got to the monk is that I've continued this journey for other communities of contemplation, other monastic communities. So the Abbey of Gethsemani in rural Kentucky is a Trappist monastery. So I'm a Lay Cistercian associated with that abbey. Thomas Merton, famous writer, lived there and is buried there. And so I've been able to go back to Kentucky and talk to monks who knew him. And it just, that feels like home to me as well. Again, that sense of silence, and work. So it fulfills me.
It's a very interesting dichotomy, really.
Sam Harris talked about, because I kind of went through, like in 2013, 2014, kind of this craving, because I considered myself a pretty diehard atheist, but I just felt empty. And so I read this book. It was like Spirituality for Atheists. And one of the things Sam Harris talks about is he's like, Buddhism is something you can sit and empirically test. You can sit and go through and meditate and be like, does this work for me? It's like, it's different from other standard religions. You can actually sit with Buddhism and experience it for yourself and judge whether it's a workable path for you.
Yeah. And, and it's not some people their hair goes on fire because it's like, are you Buddhist? Are you Christian? Well, no. Paul Knitter wrote a book called Without Buddha, I Could Not Be a Christian.
What a great name for a book. My God.
Without Buddha, I cannot be a Christian. And I so agree with that. It is enhanced my understanding. Thich Nhat Hanh, a revered Buddhist writer and a Zen master, has written, about Jesus and Buddha being brothers. And I see that completely. Yeah. It is enhanced. And the traditions of meditation you find in Buddhism, you actually, if you dig deep enough, you find in ancient Christianity as well.
That's exactly right. Exactly right. You hit the nail on the head.
Yeah. So there's really nothing new under the sun. It just is a practice. For me, Jesus is a touch point to help me know how I can live out my life. Again, feed the hungry, help those who are marginalized. That in particular, laying down your life for your friends. That's right. That's kind of a key to me, that death is not the final word. I gravitate towards that, but I also gravitate towards this notion of being still. For me, meditation often takes the form of walking on the beach. Like take my shoes off, feel the sand, take steps, take a breath with every 2 steps, release it with 4. And pretty soon you just feel like you're being cleansed out completely. So I think it's enhanced it. And I can't tell people what to do for themselves, but I definitely tell people to go search for what their path is.
Yeah, it's really important. It's wonderful that you are, as a human being, so spiritually open and embracing of this. I totally agree with where you're coming from and my own definitions in life, because I've studied religions and spent time in so many different cultures, and I've taken a little bit out of every culture because I feel I need that. I feel that Buddhism offers me one thing and traditional African culture offers me another. And there's Christian principles that I feel are really important and Jewish principles that are really important. It's a wonderful thing to be able to do that. But often, when people want me to define what religion I am, I grasp at straws because I identify with so many of them.
Well, and so does God. I mean, God. Last time I checked, God wasn't a Christian or Jewish or Buddhist. Etc. We identify with being human. Just being myself. That would be a good religion to start with.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, let's talk about personal relationships here. You have a partner you met in 2000. You've been together since 2005?
Yes. Jose, he's here actually. So I'm going to bring him on. There's Jose.
Hi.
Hello, Jose.
How are you? Welcome to the show. Pull up a chair.
It's been a while. So he's a little bit lower than me, but we're actually about the same height.
You know what? It's all virtual, so it's all good.
We met. I took a break from my church in West Hollywood and took the train over to Pasadena and would take at All Saints Episcopal Church. And there was a good sized little gay group there, so I kind of hung out with them. And Jose was a part of that group, but he had a partner of 20-some years, and so I hands off Jose, and so I went after. He helped me get other guys. And
this is such a great story.
And I'm still pissed. They went to the gay rodeo and they dropped me off and didn't take me. But that's another story. So anyway, so it was about we're getting close to 1999, and Jose, we had lunch together, just he and I and everything. But I'm like, he's married, and he suddenly says, "I'd like to date," and I said, "Well, you're kind of in a relationship." And he said, "I know, but that's ending. It's kind of ending." I said, "Look, I cannot handle this drama. I cannot handle drama like this. And so you go and take care of that. And when you're on your own again, give me a call." And he disappeared for a year. Wow. I disappeared for a year. And in that time I had another guy, I was dating Dwayne. And so he moved with me to Lakewood. And it was nothing exciting. We weren't living together, just dating. And I was beginning the adoption process. And on the night before Thanksgiving,
I'm just going to hold you up right there. This is a lot of stuff. You're pulling in a lot of things into the suitcase. So you were single, right? Because you didn't know if you and Jose were going to be together. We had the prospect of a date, but we didn't have a date, right? You were single and you were going to adopt a child. What was going on in your life then?
I always wanted to have a son or a child, and relationships were not a thing that seemed to work for me. So I thought, I'm just going to adopt as a single parent. And so I began the process in LA, and that was going on. And then the day before Thanksgiving, the phone rings and it's Jose, and he says, "Oh, I've been in and out. I lived with my parents for a year. Ed and I are gone. I broke up. Can we get together?" And I said, "Sure." And so he came to my house on Thanksgiving Day, 2005, and never left.
Isn't that incredible? On Thanksgiving, you have to pay attention to when it happened. Wow.
And I said, I'm in the process of adopting. So if we're going to be together, you have to join. So he sped through the program. And then we had a son, adopt a foster child for 13 months. Then they got taken away. And then we went through 30 children. And then they called up and said, we got this 2-year-old who will be available for adoption. And we said, sure. And hey, Steven, his name is Steven. And here he is.
Hi, Steven.
Hey, Steven with a PH.
Oh, Steven with a PH, yeah.
He's actually quite taller. He's stand up. Yeah, he's much
You're
taller
probably
than.
really tall because you're 15. How tall are you?
I'm about 6 foot.
Oh my goodness.
And growing, right. Well, really nice to meet you. Steven's in Pennsylvania. I'm here in New York. Y'all are in California. And isn't this great? We can all be here together tonight. So
It's a
really great.
Yeah, he's moved over.
Steven was the little 2-year-old.
So we adopted him right as I went on disability. So I went on disability January 2009, and we adopted him officially on Jose's birthday, which was January 26th. 2009.
I better remember that birthday.
I know.
So did you plan on Steven coming into your lives on that day, or it just worked out?
It is a foster adopt program. So we got him, and it literally was 6 months. So we had to wait 6 months to adopt, and the day they assigned us was Jose's birthday.
Oh, come on. There's so much between Thanksgiving. I mean, this is just, the whole story is so incredible, of a story that was meant to be for 3 people, really. Incredible story.
So we've been together for this time, and, we've grown as a family. And so when we moved down here to Imperial Beach, to the church, Jose's become the accompanist for the church. He plays the piano and sings. The church secretary, don't piss him off, or you'll get taken off the email.
Yeah, we were told that if we piss you off, you
get off the
banished from the list. Is that true?
It's true. I don't notify you though.
So I have these lovely little ladies come up to me and they say, Pastor, why am I not getting the emails from the church? And I think, oh my God.
Oh boy.
What have you done to Jose? What have you done to Jose?
Wow.
So, and then Steven, from the time you were how old? 8? Yeah. 6, 7, he was doing the projection, my God, singer, preacher, we could go on the road, couldn't we?
I see a road show here, or a reality TV show. Move over, Kardashians. We've got a better show than that.
Or no, the new tent revival, baby. I mean, this is what we need.
We got asked to be on a reality television show that's coming out. It's called Home Sweet Home, coming out on NBC. And they tried to convince us to go on it. I just couldn't bear to live in somebody else's house for a while. I had to talk with the producer, and I went in and kind of woke Jose up and said, they want us to be on a reality television show. What do you think about this? And he said, oh, I'm not ready to be the face of reality television right now.
the face of reality television.
So anyway, we opted not to do that. So
you passed on it. I totally get it. Now, you brought your whole family over. Where are the 3 pugs and the cat?
You want to go get a pug? Go get a pug. Go get a pug. Precious. We're precious.
Pug.
One of the challenges we've had, kind of being gay parents, especially in a conservative little town like Imperial Beach.
That was going to actually be my next question. Yeah, I want to talk about that. What is that like?
Well, on Mother's Day, the teachers don't know what to do with this kid who has 2 dads. So it was like, I'm being upstaged by a pug.
Oh my God, look at this. Oh, this is adorable. Oh, look at that. But that's like a plug of a body. How cute. If I were there, I would have to squeeze. Adorable.
So one teacher had him write letters to his favorite woman or female friends. So we got wind of this. So we kind of marched down and said, this is not acceptable.
Thank you.
And so what we work out, and we did this largely because when we filled out the Social Security form for Steven, it only had listed father and mother on Social Security. So it was like, okay, which one of us is going to be the father? Which is going to be the mother? And it's like, I really didn't want to go there, but so we decided Jose would be the mother. And so we decided Mother's Day is Papa's Day, because we call him Papa.
Love it. Right.
And Father's Day is Dad's Day.
Right.
So we educated the teacher a little bit, and they were cool. And we had to teach them about forms that came out, that say what's your mom's cell phone number, your dad's cell phone number. People don't think about those things much, but and it's not just gay couples. I mean, maybe a child living with their grandmother or their grandparents or
totally right.
It's not all mothers and dads that
right.
are out there. So
now more than ever, and again, we're in Imperial Beach. It is a conservative place, but I know in LA, it wouldn't surprise me to find out that a lot of those forms have been changed, even in the New York area, because you have so many parents, same-sex parents with kids, and it's a family. Families are made up of all different kinds of people, and that's just how it is now.
When we finally got to speak to the superintendent of the schools, she was mortified.
She was mortified. Good. I'm glad that you did that.
And the reason is she's a lesbian, and she couldn't believe this was happening in her district. And so in our presence, she sent out a memo. All these cards had to be brought in immediately to be changed.
But how great.
I always feel bad being the ones who stomp our feet, but I really feel it's important because a lot of people I feel like don't. And so, but we don't hesitate. We kind of say, this needs to be brought to your attention.
You're definitely a crusader in this area. It is so much easier when you have, we've had parents on, same-sex parents that have the full support of a community with other parents that are like same-sex parents. So when, there's safety in numbers, you can all have each other's back. But I'm getting the feeling from what you're saying that if you don't stamp your feet and make the noise, and it'll go on business as usual.
I think so. But we've seen some change happen. So we were quite happy with that.
Fantastic.
And so,
I had a college professor, and we're friends on Facebook, and she teaches poli-sci, and she gives the kids essays, and they write things. Well, things are bad, but it's just kind of the arc of history that things get better. And she's like, no, that's not what happens. You have to fight for these things. You have to stomp your feet to make things change. It doesn't just happen.
That's right. I agree. That's how it bends. That's exactly right.
Do you consider yourself an activist?
Oh, no, not really. I guess. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm like you when it comes to religion, Wendy. I don't particularly, not drawn to labels, but I don't remain silent either.
You don't remain silent. That makes you an activist.
And
you are
so,
an activist. You don't remain silent.
Yeah, I mean, but it's like I wish more people would not remain silent. So it's like, let's speak up when we can. There's sometimes, in the community, I feel like I have to finesse things. I have to try to keep people together. That's a real trick at times. I don't walk a political line in this community. I work with Republicans and Democrats, and I work with conservatives and liberals. I just think that that's a part of what my job is.
It totally is, to do the work that you're doing. You're doing the good work, so you got to be able to do that.
But the line is when harm gets caused, when people are being intentionally harmed, when that woman storms into your place with the Bible, or when there's real kind of spiritual violence being committed against people. We got to speak up.
Right.
Need to be respected.
Right. Absolutely. So I'm curious, I know what you're doing now. Do you have like a wish list of things going forward?
A wish list.
Things you want to affect, things you want to change, how you see yourself, your family moving forward.
Give a wish list. God, we are absent a wish list here. I think,
Wish list absentee.
I know, Jesus, help us. Really, I think. Well, for me, I'm really so immersed in the neighborhood center, just completely immersed. Trying to build this new building and make some new things possible. Because the neighborhood center, my dream of it is, as we grow, is to be a place of bringing the community together, a place of reconciliation, a place of community. I see that so absent in our particular town, and I'm hopeful that will happen. But as far as
that is your wish list. That is exactly what a wish list is. That's your wish list. That's your 5-year plan. That's moving forward and everything that you want to see come true that you're going to try and affect and change.
That's right. I think, Jose, your wish list would be to save all the animals in town. I think, I'm
there with Jose.
we 2 pugs are bought from a store, but every animal we've had since then is rescue. And, he feeds cats here and animals. If a dog gets lost, we're out trying to find its owner.
You're the people. I love that.
Jose's probably wish is to take care of all the animals in town.
Yeah.
So what's your wish, Wendy and Steven?
Well, you want me to start first, Steven, or do you want to start?
You go first. I'll think about it.
Oh.
As a communicator, as a performer, as a filmmaker, I believe I've been using those talents. I will use those talents on a much broader scale. I was the kid that grew up giving the $1 to the Save the Seals Fund. I don't know if you remember that, but they used to show you the baby seals all beautiful, and then you'd open up the thing and the seal wood is being it was horrible. And the way it affected a kid like me, I started trying to make changes like that when I was young. And then as I got older, I thought, I will never have enough money to be a mouthpiece that could affect change. And, in my 20s and 30s, I was very much involved. And of course, now I've always been involved in the LGBT community, but I would say in my late 20s, as my friends started dying from acquired immune deficiency, or GRID is what they initially called it. They didn't know what it was. I decided, no, I'm mad as hell. I'm not taking this anymore. All right. And I'm going to use myself to bring light to this. How did I do that? Both myself and my partner, who we really joined over the AIDS epidemic. It was horrible watching this happen. And if you remember ACT UP, their slogan, silence equals death. We talked about you can't be silent. I could be silent no more. And I started volunteering and throwing fundraisers and affecting things that way. And I've gone on to make films about gorillas and chimpanzees being poached in parts of Africa. I'm a communicator. I wanted to be Angelina Jolie. I would say, oh my God, look what she can do with celebrity. I don't have celebrity. I'm just Wendy, and I can do a lot, and I can do it one individual at a time. So yeah, that's my plan. I'm going to continue my agenda.
Thank you.
Steven,
you had time.
Well, I have to say, chief in my wish list is to continue seeing TriVersity blossom and grow. It's been so wonderful to see people coming into our center and using it as a center to talk and to get to know each other. Watching people have spiritual discussions at the center, which at one point the other day got a little heated, and I was like, I'm going to take a potty break. But I love these things. And I'd love to see TriVersity continue to grow and bring in a much bigger cross-section of the community. Yeah. And I'd say probably on a personal note, is to kind of continue exploring my spirituality and see where that leads me.
Beautiful.
Great.
I love this so much.
This is such an incredible discussion. And also, Steven, tell Pastor John about our spiritual roundtable that we have.
Oh, yes. We've been doing we call them reconciling religion roundtables that we partnered with Milford United Methodist Church. We haven't done one in a while, but another thing TriVersity offers, or we will be offering it again soon, it's called SOS, which is Sharing Our Spirit. So it's a kind of spirituality forum where we'll meet once a month. We have a wonderful facilitator, Rabbi Frank Tamburello, and he will guide an affirming discussion of religion and spirituality. And so, yeah, we kicked that off at the start of the pandemic, and now we're going to bring it back live.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, I hope someday to be able to get out there and see it with my own eyes and to participate in it. That'd be wonderful.
That would be wonderful for us too. And I'm thinking if we end up doing anything online, and that could happen with these variants, we don't know. Steven saved our organization through this whole pandemic. I'm like, how are we going to run an organization that, we did a lot of social events. I'm a social butterfly. I love doing that. I love meeting people in person. Now we had to take everything online, and this guy did it. He did it. And my God, we had a holiday party that all these people showed up for online. I would have never dreamt it could have been done. So
there you go. Beautiful.
That's the work we do. So great having you here today. Steven, do we have any comments from anybody?
Well, we have a lot of comments, and definitely what I'd love to see people do is to kind of take these comments and head to our website. I put it at the very top. Go to our forum. Let's discuss this stuff. But I did have one question from Simone before we pop off. Let me find it. What are your thoughts on Buddhist koans? I'm not sure if I pronounced that right. They're a wonderful teaching tool.
Yeah, I mean, what are your thoughts on something that you're supposed to think about or not think about? A koan is really kind of like the famous one is what's the sound of one hand clapping type example. I've not done koans. I mean, I have a book here of koans, but I've just practiced zazen, which is basically just sitting meditation. So to the question, my thoughts are something I'm very fascinated by. I just haven't done them that much. So, but brilliant. I think some easy koans are from like Zen Flesh, Zen Bones, which some people might know. Just simple stories that kind of don't have an easy answer to them. So anyway, yeah.
Well, I just learned something because I didn't even know what koans were. Thank you, Simone.
Yes. And John, Jose, and Steven, thank you so much for being on here tonight. We are so grateful. This has been so fun and so enlightening. And in some sense, talking about what happened at the center, deeply cathartic for me. So I appreciate you. And
it was just like Starbucks.
Just like your discussions at Starbucks. And Steven, I love your dog. Look, that dog is a good piece of
Absolutely. I know.
the whole time. Thank you all for coming on tonight. Really, this has really been great.
Thank you so much.
And everyone, thank you. And we look forward to seeing you next week.
And John, when we end the stream, just don't go off because I take a picture of all of us at the end.
Right.
Or ending will come up. Just hang out. Thank you.
Good night, everyone.